Years ago, while I was visiting my sister, my nephew very generously gave up his bedroom for me. Everything was great until I got into bed and noticed the clock. You know the kind, one of those battery-operated analog clocks. Now, it wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic, it was just ticking. At first I thought, I'll ignore it. But the longer I lay there, the louder it seemed to get. Eventually, I got up, took the clock off the wall, and without overthinking it, put it right into the clothes hamper and buried it under some extra pillows. Ah, silence. Now I can sleep. And yes, I did forget to take it out before I left, which later resulted in my sister texting me, asking me why her nephew's wall clock had apparently entered the witness protection program. But the clock wasn't the real problem. It was my relationship to the sound. It was my thoughts about the sound. Because here's what I eventually saw. There was the clock, and then there was my experience of the clock. Those are not the same thing. And the thing is, it doesn't take a ticking clock for this to happen. Most of the time, it's much closer to home. Have you noticed that in general, you live with a constant stream of inner commentary? It's what Eckhart Tolle calls the voice in the head, and what Michael Singer refers to as our inner roommate. It's the familiar inner voice in the background most of the time, giving us marching orders, yet always at the ready to move front and center. And the inner roommate rarely has anything neutral to say. Have you noticed that? It criticizes, it worries, it second guesses. It replays conversations you thought were over. It reminds you what you should have said or could have said. It rehearses what might go wrong next. And it doesn't do this because it's broken or cruel, because its original job was to protect us. That's why we have it, to scan for danger, for predators. The problem is it never learned when to stop scanning. And if you're like me, a full night's sleep has become a precious commodity. And it's not just falling asleep, it's staying asleep. It drives me crazy seeing 2, 3, 4 a.m., far more than I'd prefer. My body wants rest, and yet the mind wakes up right on cue. That's when it usually starts, doesn't it? The replaying, the reviewing, the planning. So let me ask it this way. Where, or maybe when, does the inner roommate focus most of its time? It's almost never in the here and now, is it? Especially at night when there's really nothing going on. The mind fills the space replaying and judging the past, or rehearsing and worrying about imagined futures. That's what makes those nights feel so long. And what's really fascinating is that the inner roommate speaks in first person. I can't believe I forgot my keys again. Sometimes second person. You really should pay more attention next time. And sometimes even third person. Because it speaks this way, we don't experience this voice as something that's happening to us. We experience it as who we actually are. We take it for granted because we can't remember it ever not being there. So we assume this is me, my thoughts, my worries, my judgments. And because we believe it, we rarely step back to examine it. We'll argue with the voice, we'll obey it, we'll even try to manage it. But we almost never question the most basic assumption underneath it all. The assumption that the voice in our head is who we are. Interestingly, we make this assumption in part because the inner roommate avoids being examined. If you think about it from the roommate's point of view, being discovered as not you would mean that it's no longer in charge. And then how would it protect you? And then here's the moment I want you to notice. The fact that you're still watching means something in you already senses the possibility that you are not the voice in your head. You don't have to fully understand that yet. We've got a long way to go. You don't even have to believe it. Just noticing the possibility is enough for now. And that's where this exploration actually begins. Next, we'll take this one step further and look at what happens when you begin to observe the mind while it's talking, but without interrupting it or trying to stop it. If this piqued your curiosity, hit subscribe and join me on the next video called Watching the Mind.